Learn English through stories. Intermediate English. Hansel and Gretel. Betrayal sends them into the forest. Courage brings them home richer than before. Build real-world English through a gripping story of survival, danger, and inner strength. Read along, feel the scenes, and strengthen your English with every moment. Don't just study English, live it through stories. Hunger in the home. Once upon a time, a poor woodcutter lived in a small cottage with his 2 children, Hansel and Gretel, and their stepmother. A terrible famine came to the land, and there was very little food to eat. The family was always hungry, and the parents worried every day about how they would survive. A stepmother's betrayal. One night, the stepmother told the woodcutter her terrible plan. "There is not enough food for all of us," she said. "We must take the children deep into the forest and leave them there. It is the only way for us to live." The woodcutter was very sad, but he did not know what else to do. Hansel's desperate plan. Hansel was still awake and heard his stepmother's words. He was very scared for himself and his sister. He knew he had to do something to save them. He waited until his parents were asleep, and then he quietly crept out of his bed. He had a clever idea to help them find their way home. Stones of Hope. Outside, the moon was shining brightly. The light made the small white pebbles on the ground sparkle like silver coins. Hansel quickly filled his pockets with as many of the shiny stones as he could carry. He knew these little pebbles would be their guide and would show them the way back to their home. Into the silent forest. The next morning, the family walked deep into the forest. The woodcutter's heart was heavy with sadness. As they walked, Hansel secretly dropped the white pebbles one by one onto the path behind them. He made sure to leave a clear trail that they could follow later when the sun went down. A father's silent pain. Gretel held her father's other hand tightly. She was afraid of the dark woods and the strange sounds of the animals. She did not understand why they were walking so far from their cozy cottage. Her father could not look at her because his eyes were filled with tears of sorrow and regret. A trail back to life. When they reached the deepest part of the forest, the parents left the children and promised to return, but they never did. When night came, the moon shone on the white pebbles. The stones glowed in the darkness, and Hansel and Gretel easily followed the trail all the way back home. Hunger turns to cruelty. Their stepmother was angry to see them. The famine was worse than before, and she knew she had to try again. "Tomorrow we will go even deeper into the forest," she told her husband. "This time they will not find their way back." She locked the cottage door so Hansel could not go outside. A risky new plan. Hansel heard the plan again, but this time he could not get outside to collect more pebbles. He was worried, but he did not give up. For dinner, he was given a small piece of bread. He carefully put the bread in his pocket. "This will have to work," he thought to himself. Crumbs of desperation. The next day, the family went back into the forest. It was darker and scarier than before. As they walked, Hansel dropped tiny crumbs of bread on the path. He hoped the crumbs would show him and Gretel the way home, just like the pebbles did before. He tried to be hopeful, lost with no way back. When they were left alone, Hansel and Gretel waited for the moon to rise. But when they looked for the trail of breadcrumbs, it was gone. The hungry birds of the forest had eaten every single crumb. Now they were truly lost. They were all alone and had no idea how to get home. a house of temptation. For 3 days they walked deeper into the woods, feeling hungry and tired. Suddenly, they saw something amazing in a clearing. It was a small house made of gingerbread, with a roof of cake and windows of clear sugar. It was the most wonderful house they had ever seen in their lives. Hunger overcomes fear. "We can eat the house," Gretel shouted with joy. They were so hungry that they immediately began to break off pieces and eat them. Just then, the door opened, and a very old woman came out. "Hello, my dear children," she said with a sweet but strange smile. "You must be hungry." A deceptive welcome. The old woman seemed very kind. She invited Hansel and Gretel inside her house. She gave them a delicious meal of pancakes and apples. They were so happy to have a warm place to sleep and good food to eat. They did not know that the kind old woman was really a wicked witch. Witch reveals her trap. The next morning, the witch showed her true self. She grabbed Hansel and locked him in a small cage. "I am going to fatten you up, and then I will eat you," she cackled. Hansel was terrified. He called for his sister, but there was nothing she could do to help him. Gretel's silent suffering. The witch forced Gretel to be her servant. Every day, Gretel had to clean the house and cook big meals for Hansel to make him fat. The witch was always mean to her, shouting and making her work from morning until night. Gretel cried every day, worried about her brother's fate. Hansel's clever trick. The witch had very bad eyesight. Every day she would go to the cage and say, "Hansel, stick out your finger. I want to feel if you are fat enough to eat." But clever Hansel held out a thin chicken bone instead. The witch felt the bone and was always disappointed he was still so thin. A deadly decision. Finally, the witch became too impatient to wait any longer. "Fat or thin, I will eat Hansel today," she declared. She made a big fire in the oven. "Gretel," she commanded, "climb in and see if the oven is hot enough." But the witch was planning to cook Gretel too. Gretel's final gamble. Gretel knew she had to be clever to save herself and her brother. "I'm sorry," she said to the witch, "but I am just a small girl. I don't know how to check the oven. Can you please show me how to do it?" She pretended to be foolish and helpless. The witch's last mistake. The witch was annoyed. "You useless child," she grumbled. "It's easy. I will show you." The witch walked to the oven and opened the heavy iron door wide. "You just have to lean in like this," she said, as she bent over and put her head inside the hot oven to demonstrate. Freedom through courage. This was Gretel's chance. As soon as the witch leaned into the oven, Gretel ran up behind her and gave her a giant push with all her strength. The witch fell completely inside. Gretel quickly slammed the heavy door shut and locked it. The wicked witch was trapped for good. Treasure of survival. Gretel ran to free Hansel from his cage. They were so happy to be safe. They explored the witch's house and found a room filled with chests of treasure. There were pearls, jewels, and gold coins everywhere. They filled their pockets with as much of the treasure as they could carry. The long journey home. With the treasure, they left the gingerbread house and found a path that led them out of the forest. Soon they saw their small cottage in the distance. They ran home as fast as they could. Their father saw them and ran to them, crying with joy. He hugged Hansel tightly. A new life begins. The father told them that their wicked stepmother had died while they were gone. He had been sad and lonely every single day. With the witch's treasure, they would never be hungry again. The three of them lived together in their cottage, happily and peacefully, for the rest of their lives. What about you? Have you ever faced a moment when everything seemed hopeless, but you found the strength to keep going? How did that experience change the way you think about life, hope, and your own inner strength? Share your story in the comments. Your journey may give someone else the courage to continue theirs. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share for more fun English lessons.